Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to see a quick overview of how I made the ribs for the new Kaasir console. As you may know from the previous version, these ribs make up the sides of the console, which gives its unique and one-of-a-kind appearance. Fun fact, the Kaasir, the name of the Kaasir, is derived from the word incarceration, i.e. locked up behind bars, so incarceration became Kaasir. Here you can see I'm cutting up some pieces of walnut to roughly the right size. The finished sizes will be 10mm by 10mm. I'll get these cut to roughly 12mm by 12mm to leave me a little room for cleaning up and finishing up just now. The blade I am using is a 2.6mm blade. It's the thinnest one I can get my hands on, and I'm using this to try and reduce the kerf size. The kerf is the amount of material the blade removes when it cuts through the wood. When you are making 220 of these ribs, if you include the kerf that you are losing, it uses a surprisingly large amount of wood to get this done. I did use my bandsaw in the beginning, but my blade snapped, so back to the table saw. Okay, so after rough cutting the ribs close to their final dimensions, I ran them through the thicknesses so that I can get them perfectly sized and flat. You still need to finish each of these with a hand plane though to get rid of any machine marks. Simple enough task next, cut all the ribs to the same length. Only one thing I needed to keep in mind was that the dowels on the ends are 10mm long. So I just needed to make sure that I had 20mm extra on each one so I can incorporate this. This will be for the mortise and tenon joints that will fix the top rail to the base of the console using the ribs in between. Here I'm cutting a 1mm shoulder all around the ends of each rib, top and bottom. I'm going 1mm deep as the round over I'm going to make is going to be 8mm in diameter, and the ribs are 10mm square, so that leaves 1mm all the way around to make a nice clean cut shoulder. You will see in a minute why this is so important. Okay, here I'm making a quick jig to the last step of this process. Let me give you some insight into why I decided to choose this method rather than any other method. Well, simply I couldn't think of an easier way to do this. I dabbled with the idea of turning each one on a lathe, but there were two problems to this. Number one, it would take a lot longer to use that method. Having to cut 220 of these on each side is 440 roundovers I need to make, and aligning and turning each one will take a really long time. And number two, I don't own a lathe. I know, how can you call yourself a woodworker if you don't have one? Well, I haven't ever really needed one, but after doing this, I'm definitely looking into getting one. Okay, so back to the jig. I need to make something that would firmly hold the ribs in place while I made the roundovers on each end. This may sound a little bit archaic, but I plan to use a plug cutter on a drill press to do this. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, but just hang on a second and you will see it actually worked out pretty well. I added some extra screws onto this jig for a little bit more support off camera. And here's the jig in action. As rudimentary as this all seemed, it worked surprisingly well. You can see as I bring the plug cutter down on the drill press, it sort of rips the material out. But then as soon as it gets close to the shoulder, it cleans it up absolutely beautifully and leaves a really sharp line all around the shoulder of each one of these. This is extremely important because when I do join the rail and the base of the unit together, I need absolutely perfect looking joints that meet up crisply. Yeah, and that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your feedback. Hit subscribe to be notified of when the final build video is ready. See you on the next one.